So, welcome to Flatten the Curve. To begin, I'll walk you through some of the basic features. The graph records the status of our population. Dark green is uninfected, red is infected, bright green is recovered, and grey marks deaths. Our objective will be to flatten the curve. We will do that by employing countermeasures from the toolbar below. The blue markers denote the individual point cost, which is deducted from the bar above that fills over time and as infections rise. Now, let's take a look at the world. Here you can see a city map with different roads and buildings that the population interacts with. From an arts perspective, we've aimed to keep everything clean and simple to enhance readability and to keep a neutral tone to underline the simulation aspect of the game. We've designed the UI to be easy to use and mobile compatible. Let's take a look at a building. This yellow building is a recreational building where people come to have fun. The slots in the center are empty spaces for people to occupy. Should the building be full, people will try to queue up on the left here. People have different needs: work, rest, food, and fun, which they will try to satisfy by visiting the corresponding buildings. Another important aspect of understanding the population are age groups. Different buildings will attract different age groups, like this restaurant here, which attracts adults and elderly. This is important to know because elderly people are more susceptible to the virus. To get an idea of the age distribution, you can turn on the age filter here. Have a look at this retirement home, for example. It's populated only by elderly people. If you need to review any information, you can always press the question mark to open the tutorial and pause the game. Now the only thing left to do is to set our simulation speed and press play. Ooh, 37 deaths, and look at that curve. Now let's have a look at how countermeasures can help to flatten it.
So we just saw what happens if the player does not take any actions to influence the simulation. Now I will take over the control and we will see how I can improve the situation. I started off by looking down all the residential buildings to find the infected dots. Luckily, they were all in one building at the start, as you may notice by the red color of 2 dots. Because the infected dots decided to stay in there for a while, I can tell you a little more about how we simulate an infection. Like in the real world, the virus needs to get through an incubation time before the infection becomes serious. Then the dot starts to cough, indicated by a red circle appearing now and then, which is the one and only way how the virus can get from one dot to another to reproduce itself. Each infection lasts for a given time after the dot either fully recovers and becomes immune to the virus or dies. Because the virus spread inside the building, I started to consider my available options. Each of them consumes a different amount of resources from the resource bar, which fills up over time and with each new infection automatically. So the longer you play, the more difficult the situation becomes, the more resources you have available. In the end, I selected the mask station, which reduces the infection radius and increases the time between each cough. This station can provide masks to 8 dots over a given time, which is displayed by the little mask icon on each of them. In this situation, the infected dot entered a building, but his mask may wear off while he is inside. So I took advantage of the disinfection station that grants immunity towards an infection for each non-infected dot. This is indicated by a white circle surrounding the dots. I already saved up a lot of resources to afford the testing station and placed it around these 2 infected dots. The testing station has 10 users and forces each infected dot to go to the hospital. Combined with a mask station should ensure that they do not infect others while on their way. They stay inside the hospital until the infection runs off. Because there is no known treatment, the dots do not recover more quickly, but because of being in a hospital, reduces the mortality rate drastically, and because of the isolation, they do not spread the virus anymore. The museum seems to be in a critical situation. A lot of dots are inside and the virus is about to spread here. I prepared the exit with a testing station and closed the building, forcing everyone inside to leave the building immediately, which leaves them no choice but to get tested. And again, I also applied the mask station here. I will fast forward the rest of the session so that we can compare this playthrough with the last one. At the top, you can already see that all my measures flattened the curve a lot, but my mortality rate is still high. Maybe you are able to beat me.
Now, that is it for us. Thank you for listening. Flatten the Curve is live now. Just follow this link to play. We'd love to hear your feedback. Stay safe out there.